Imagine standing in front of a stone so massive that 10 elephants couldn't budge it, yet somehow an ancient civilization moved it hundreds of miles without a single truck, crane, or engine. How did they do it? The answers have vanished into history, leaving behind only clues that defy logic. Welcome to a journey through time, where we unravel 30 of the most baffling enigmas of ancient transportation, feats so impossible they make modern engineers scratch their heads. From colossal statues hauled across islands to megaliths weighing as much as blue whales mysteriously lifted into place, these puzzles challenge everything we think we know about the past. What secrets did these civilizations possess? What forgotten technologies or otherworldly knowledge allowed them to achieve the impossible? Strap in, because by the end of this video, you'll question whether history has been hiding the truth from us all along. The mysteries start now. Now, let's step into the lush jungles of Costa Rica, where an ancient puzzle lies half buried in the earth. Hundreds of perfectly round stone spheres, some as small as a baseball, others towering over 8 feet tall and weighing 16 tons. These mysterious orbs, known as the stone spheres of Costa Rica, are so precise that modern engineers struggle to explain how they were crafted with such flawless symmetry, let alone how they were moved through dense rainforests and up steep hillsides. The story begins in the 1930s when workers clearing land for banana plantations stumbled upon these spheres, often arranged in geometric patterns or clustered near ancient settlements. Archaeologists later traced them to the Defy culture, which thrived between 700 and 1500 AD. But here's the twist: no tools, blueprints, or even a single written record from this civilization explain their creation. The stones, carved from gabbro, a hard volcanic rock, show no chisel marks or signs of rough shaping. Instead, they're polished to near-perfect smoothness, with deviations of less than 2 centimeters in diameter. How did a society without wheels or metal tools achieve this precision? One theory suggests the Defys used a combination of heat and rapid cooling to fracture the rock, then painstakingly pecked and ground the surfaces with smaller stones. But the real enigma is transportation. Some spheres were found miles from quarries, across rivers, and through terrain so rugged that modern machinery would groan under the effort. Indigenous legends whisper of a magic potion that softened the stone, while skeptics propose log rollers or rope systems, yet none of these explanations fully account for the sheer scale and distance involved. Even stranger, the sphere's purpose remains a mystery. Were they astronomical markers aligning with constellations, symbols of power or wealth? Some clusters mirror star patterns, fueling speculation about ancient celestial knowledge. Others believe they served as territorial markers or even held spiritual significance, guiding the dead to the afterlife. Whatever their role, one thing is clear: these stones defy the limits of what we assume pre-Columbian cultures could accomplish. Could the answer lie in lost technology or techniques we've yet to rediscover? From sonic levitation myths to forgotten methods of anti-friction, the stone spheres of Costa Rica challenge us to rethink the ingenuity of the ancient world. And as we'll see time and again in these mysteries, sometimes the past holds secrets modern science still can't crack. Leaving the jungles of Costa Rica behind, we now set our sights on a remote island in the Pacific, where towering stone giants silently guard a mystery centuries in the making. Easter Island's iconic Moai statues stand as one of history's most baffling transportation puzzles. How did a small, isolated community move these colossal figures across miles of rugged terrain without wheels, draft animals, or even ample timber? The Moai, carved from compressed volcanic tuff at the Rono Raraku quarry, average 13 feet tall and weigh around 14 tons. But some unfinished statues still embedded in the rock would have tipped the scales at 80 tons if completed. For context, that's heavier than a modern tank. The Rapa Nui people accomplished this between 1200 and 1600 AD, yet their tools were basic stone picks and obsidian blades. Even more perplexing, many statues were transported up to 11 miles from the quarry to ceremonial platforms called ahu, often crossing steep hills and uneven ground. Oral traditions offer tantalizing clues. Islanders speak of the statues walking to their destinations, guided by divine power or the mana of chiefs. This myth fueled a breakthrough in 2012 when archaeologists Terry Hunt and Carl Lipo demonstrated how teams could rock a Moai replica side to side using ropes, mimicking a forward shuffle. Their experiment suggested just 18 people could move a 10-ton statue 300 feet per day, a plausible method, though skeptics note it doesn't fully explain moving the heaviest Moai across longer distances. Another theory involves log rollers, but Easter Island's deforestation makes this controversial. Did the Rapa Nui cut down all their palms to move statues, triggering ecological collapse? Or did they use alternative methods like parallel wooden sledges lubricated with sweet potato paste, as recent soil analysis hints? Some even point to V-shaped paths near the quarry, possibly used to parbuckle statues, rolling them on pivots downhill. Purpose deepens the mystery. Most Moai faced inland, watching over villages rather than the sea, their backs to the ocean. Were they ancestors turned to stone, as local belief holds? Or markers of freshwater sources, given their placement near underground springs? The addition of red stone pukao topknots adds another layer, some weighing 12 tons, hauled uphill after the statues were erected. From oral histories to modern experiments, the Moai challenge our assumptions about ancient innovation. Whether they walked, slid, or were spiritually willed into place, these stone sentinels remind us that the past often holds solutions we're only beginning to imagine. Now let's journey from the remote Pacific to the heart of the ancient world, where a site in Lebanon challenges everything we think we know about engineering limits. The Baalbek megaliths, hidden beneath the ruins of a Roman temple complex, hold a secret that even modern technology struggles to explain. How did anyone move stone blocks weighing over 1,000 tons? The so-called trilithon at Baalbek consists of 3 colossal limestone blocks, each stretching 64 feet long, 14 feet high, and 12 feet wide. Tipping the scales at roughly 1,000 tons apiece, they're the largest known stones ever quarried by human hands. To put that in perspective, that's the weight of 200 adult elephants. And here's the twist: they were lifted over 20 feet high to form the foundation of Jupiter's temple, a feat that defies conventional understanding of Roman engineering. The Romans who built atop the site claimed credit, but evidence suggests an even older civilization may have done the heavy lifting. The quarry, located a mere half-mile away, holds an even more massive block, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighing an estimated 1,200 tons. It was cut but never moved, leaving us with a tantalizing question. If this was the trial run, how did they transport the slightly smaller yet still unimaginably heavy trilithon stones? Mainstream theories suggest a combination of wooden sledges, ropes, and sheer manpower, but calculations show it would take over 40,000 workers to drag a 1,000-ton block, a logistical nightmare even for the Romans. Some scholars propose a system of wooden rollers, but the pressure would crush them under such weight. Others point to intricate lever and fulcrum techniques, yet no physical evidence of these setups survives. Then come the legends. Local lore speaks of the jinn supernatural beings building Baalbek in a single night. More startlingly, ancient texts from as far back as the 1st century mention sound levitation, a lost technology where acoustic vibrations made stones weightless. While this sounds like fantasy, modern experiments with acoustic standing waves have shown it's theoretically possible to reduce friction dramatically. Did ancient builders harness resonant frequencies to move the immovable? Purpose adds another layer. Why go to such extremes? Baalbek sits atop a tectonic fault line, leading some to speculate its massive foundation acted as a seismic buffer. Others believe it was a spiritual power hub, its stones aligned with celestial events. Whatever the reason, the Baalbek megaliths remain a humbling reminder that our ancestors may have possessed knowledge we're only beginning to rediscover, whether through physics, myth, or something in between. Now, let's shift from the colossal stones of Baalbek to a far more intimate mystery, one man's obsessive quest to build a monument that defies logic. In the sweltering heat of Florida, a Latvian immigrant named Edward Lidskalnin single-handedly carved and moved over 1,100 tons of coral rock, creating what's now known as Coral Castle. How did a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound man accomplish this Herculean feat alone? The answer might lie in secrets he claimed to have stolen from the pyramids. Lidskalnin began his work in the 1920s, toiling in secrecy under cover of night. Witnesses reported hearing him sing softly as he worked, yet no one ever saw him lift or drag the massive blocks. Some pieces weighed up to 30 tons, equivalent to 3 full-grown elephants, yet he positioned them with eerie precision, creating a sprawling complex of walls, tables, and even a 9-ton revolving gate so perfectly balanced a child could spin it. When asked how he did it, Lidskalnin would only smirk and say, "I understand the laws of weight and leverage," but his tools were laughably simple: homemade pulleys, chains, and rusty car parts. Engineers who have studied Coral Castle insist these couldn't generate enough force to move such mass. Lidskalnin hinted at something grander, scribbling in his self-published pamphlets about perpetual motion holders and magnetic currents. He believed the ancient Egyptians used these same principles to build the pyramids, and that he'd rediscovered their lost knowledge. Modern researchers note his writings align uncannily with theories about anti-gravity or acoustic levitation, echoing the very legends we heard at Baalbek. One chilling clue remains. When developers forced him to relocate his entire castle in the 1930s, he promised to move it in one night. Neighbors awoke to find it done. No trucks were heard, no equipment was seen, just Lidskalnin smiling beside his reassembled monoliths. Today, his work baffles physicists. The coral's density should have made it nearly impossible to carve without diamond-tipped tools, yet his surfaces are smooth as glass. Was he a genius mechanic harnessing unseen forces, or did he truly unlock an ancient secret? Coral Castle stands as a riddle wrapped in coral and sweat, a reminder that sometimes the smallest hands hold the heaviest truths. And with that, we set our sights on another desert mystery, the Nazca Lines, where ancient artists scaled up their canvas to the sky itself. Leaving behind the secrets of Coral Castle, we journey to the vast deserts of southern Peru, where an even more sprawling enigma stretches across the earth. Here, etched into the arid plains like a giant sketchbook, lie the Nazca Lines' geometric patterns and towering animal figures so immense they can only be fully appreciated from the sky. Dating back over 2,000 years, these precise designs span hundreds of square miles, some stretching longer than the Empire State Building laid on its side. The question that haunts researchers: how did the Nazca people, without flight or modern tools, create these colossal artworks with such flawless symmetry? At ground level, the lines seem like little more than shallow scratches in the rust-colored soil, but from above, they transform into hummingbirds, spiders, and spirals, each rendered with near mathematical precision. The most baffling part: many of the designs are so large that their creators could never have seen the full picture while crafting them. This has led to wild speculation. Did the Nazca possess hot air balloons or even primitive gliders to oversee their work? In the 1970s, researchers attempted to test this theory by constructing a balloon using only materials available to the Nazca: cotton fabric and reeds. Astonishingly, it flew, lending credence to the idea that aerial oversight might have been possible. Yet skeptics argue that simpler methods could explain the mystery. Archaeologists have uncovered wooden stakes near some lines, suggesting the Nazca may have used ropes and grids to scale up small models into desert-spanning masterpieces. By plotting key points and connecting them, they could have achieved near-perfect proportions without ever leaving the ground. But this raises another puzzle. Why create art meant to be seen from the air if no one could fly? Some theorize the lines served as ritual pathways or celestial calendars, aligning with solstices and star patterns visible only at certain times of year. Others propose they were messages to gods or ancestors, meant to be viewed from the heavens. The sheer scale of labor involved is staggering. Removing thousands of tons of dark surface stones to reveal the lighter soil beneath would have required meticulous coordination. Without beasts of burden or wheels, the Nazca likely relied on sheer human effort, though how they maintained such precision across generations remains unclear. Even more perplexing is the preservation of the lines. In a region where winds regularly scour the landscape, the geoglyphs have endured for millennia, protected by a unique combination of mineral-rich soil and a near-rainless climate. Perhaps the most haunting possibility is that the Nazca never intended for the lines to endure. Some researchers suggest they were meant to be temporary ritual drawings that participants walked or danced upon, their footsteps erasing the designs over time. But if so, why do they remain so sharply defined today? The desert, it seems, guards its secrets as closely as Edward Leedskalnin guarded his. And as we turn our gaze next to the Sacsayhuaman stone walls, another marvel of ancient engineering awaits, one where stones fit so tightly, not even a blade of grass can slip between them. Now, as we shift our focus from the sprawling desert lines of Nazca, let us ascend into the Andes Mountains, where an entirely different kind of ancient marvel awaits. High above the city of Cusco, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman stands as a testament to engineering so precise it defies conventional explanations. Its walls, composed of massive limestone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, are fitted together with such exactness that not even a razor blade can slide between them. This raises an unmistakable question. How did an ancient civilization without modern tools or machinery achieve such perfection? At first glance, the walls appear almost puzzle-like, with stones of varying sizes and irregular shapes merging seamlessly into one another. Unlike other ancient structures that rely on uniform bricks or blocks, Sacsayhuaman's design follows no obvious pattern, yet every piece interlocks flawlessly. The precision is so advanced that some speculate the builders must have possessed techniques lost to time. One persistent theory suggests they used a method called ashlar masonry, where stones are painstakingly shaped to fit snugly against one another. But even this doesn't fully explain how they transported these colossal blocks from quarries miles away, let alone lifted them into place without cranes or pulleys. Adding to the intrigue are indigenous legends that speak of a mysterious substance capable of softening stone. According to these accounts, the Inca, or perhaps a much older civilization before them, knew of a plant or liquid that could temporarily make rock malleable, allowing workers to mold it like clay before it hardened again. While this sounds fantastical, some researchers point to peculiar marks on the stones that resemble tooling done on softened material rather than chiseled rock. Could there be a lost technology behind these walls, one that modern science has yet to rediscover? Skeptics, however, propose more grounded explanations. They argue that the Inca simply had an extraordinary understanding of stonework, using trial and error to shape each block over years of meticulous labor. Some even suggest they employed a system of wooden molds or sand abrasion to achieve near-perfect fits. Yet these theories struggle to account for the sheer scale and speed at which Sacsayhuaman was constructed. Historical records indicate much of it was built in just a few decades under the reign of Inca Pachacuti. Perhaps most perplexing is how the walls have withstood centuries of earthquakes that have toppled later Spanish colonial buildings in Cusco. The irregular, interlocking design seems to provide a flexibility that mortar-bound structures lack, allowing the stones to shift slightly during tremors without collapsing. This hints at an almost supernatural foresight by its builders, who may have understood seismic activity far better than we give them credit for. As we stand before these silent giants, their secrets remain locked within the stone. Were they shaped by forgotten science, patient craftsmanship, or something beyond our current understanding? The answer, much like the walls themselves, fits snugly into the larger puzzle of ancient ingenuity. And as we venture next to the Great Pyramid's granite coffers, another mystery of impossible weight awaits, one that challenges everything we know about ancient logistics. Now, leaving behind the enigmatic walls of Sacsayhuamán, we journey to the heart of Egypt, where another staggering feat of ancient engineering defies explanation. Deep within the Great Pyramid of Giza, hidden in the king's chamber, lie massive granite coffers, each weighing an astonishing 80 tons. These monolithic slabs were not quarried locally but transported from Aswan, a distance of 500 miles. How did an ancient civilization, without the wheel or draft animals, move these colossal blocks across such a vast and unforgiving landscape? The conventional explanation points to sledges dragged across wet sand, a method depicted in tomb paintings. But even this theory falters under scrutiny. Hauling an 80-ton block over 1,000 miles would require unimaginable manpower and time, not to mention the logistical nightmare of keeping the sand consistently damp across deserts and rocky terrain. Some researchers propose an alternative, a network of water channels. The Nile's annual floods could have been harnessed to float the granite on barges during high water, then moved overland via temporary canals. This would explain how the stones arrived near the pyramid site, but lifting them into place is another puzzle entirely. Here, mainstream archaeology suggests ramps, yet the scale is baffling. To lift an 80-ton slab to the pyramid's height would require a ramp of such colossal proportions that its construction would rival the pyramid itself in effort. No remnants of such ramps have ever been found. This gap in the record has fueled speculation about lost technologies. One fringe theory, inspired by ancient texts, suggests the use of sound levitation. The Edfu building texts, for instance, speak of the God's words moving stones, interpreted by some as coded references to acoustic resonance. While this seems fantastical, experiments with sound vibration have shown it can reduce friction or even suspend small objects. Could the ancients have scaled this principle to monumental proportions? Another tantalizing clue lies in the precision of the coffers themselves. Their interiors are hollowed out with such exactitude that modern engineers struggle to replicate the feat without diamond-tipped tools. The corners are perfectly square and the surfaces smooth to a mirror-like finish. This level of craftsmanship hints at tools or techniques far beyond simple copper chisels and sand abrasion. Were the builders privy to a forgotten method of stone cutting, one that combined advanced geometry with a mastery of materials? Critics argue that attributing the pyramid's construction to lost tech undermines the ingenuity of ancient laborers. They point to evidence of trial and error in nearby quarries, where abandoned blocks show markings of repeated adjustments. Yet even these markers of human effort can't fully account for the speed of construction. Khufu's pyramid was likely completed in just 20 years. To quarry, transport, and place 2.3 million blocks in that time frame would require positioning a block every 2.5 minutes non-stop. This superhuman pace leaves room for doubt about whether we've pieced together the full story. As we contemplate these granite giants, silent sentinels of a mysterious past, one thing is clear: the Great Pyramid's secrets are as layered as its stone. Whether by water, sound, or some other enigmatic method, the movement of these coffers remains a riddle wrapped in the sands of time. And as we turn our gaze next to the Olmec colossal heads, we'll confront yet another mystery: how 40-ton basalt portraits crossed mountains and swamps to gaze upon the modern world. Shifting our focus from the granite mysteries of Egypt, we now encounter the silent, stoic faces of the Olmec civilization, monumental stone heads, each weighing as much as 8 elephants. Carved from single blocks of basalt, these colossal sculptures were transported over 60 miles through dense swamps and rugged mountains, a feat that baffles archaeologists to this day. The Olmecs, often called Mesoamerica's mother culture, left no written records, leaving their methods of moving these titanic portraits shrouded in mystery. Mainstream scholars propose that the basalt was quarried from the Tuxtla Mountains, then hauled to sites like La Venta on rafts along rivers. Experiments have shown that log rollers and rafts could theoretically move such weights, but the reality on the ground complicates this theory. The terrain between the quarries and the final locations includes steep inclines, dense mangroves, and seasonal floods, making water transport only partially viable. Even if rafts were used, maneuvering 40-ton stones onto and off of them without cranes or pulleys would require ingenious solutions. Some researchers suggest lever systems or inclined planes, but no evidence of such infrastructure has been found. Indigenous oral traditions offer a starkly different explanation. Local legends speak of giant helpers, beings of immense strength who aided the Olmecs in moving the heads. These accounts, often dismissed as myth, gain eerie resonance when paired with archaeological oddities. For instance, the head's flat bases suggest they were designed to be repositioned, as if their creators anticipated frequent movement. Could these giants represent a lost caste of laborers, or perhaps a metaphorical reference to advanced techniques now forgotten? Skeptics argue that the giant narratives are allegorical, symbolizing collective effort rather than literal beings. Yet the precision of the heads features each one a distinct portrait with unique headdresses and expressions, hints at a culture capable of extraordinary coordination. The basalt itself adds another layer of intrigue. The stone's volcanic hardness would have required expert carving tools, yet the Olmecs are believed to have used only stone and water abrasion. Microscopic analysis reveals chisel marks consistent with handheld tools, but the scale and speed of production remain unexplained. Over 17 heads have been uncovered, some standing over 3 meters tall, all carved within a few centuries. This rapid output suggests a Chinese letter organized society with specialized labor divisions, or access to methods we've yet to uncover. As we contrast these theories, one question lingers: why create such massive portraits in the first place? Most heads depict rulers or deities, their solemn gazes perhaps meant to project power across the landscape. Their placement in ceremonial centers implies a spiritual or political purpose, but the sheer effort invested hints at something deeper. Were they territorial markers, ancestral monuments, or even attempts to immortalize encounters with those enigmatic giants? What's undeniable is the Olmecs' mastery over their environment, turning geological obstacles into a canvas for legacy. As we prepare to delve into the 12,000-year-old enigma of Gobekli Tepe's pillars, we're reminded that the past refuses to fit neatly into our modern frameworks. Each mystery peels back another layer, revealing not just how ancient people moved stone, but how they moved mountains literally and metaphorically to shape their world. Leaving behind the colossal heads of the Olmecs, we now journey to the windswept hills of southeastern Turkey, where an even older puzzle awaits Göbekli Tepe. This 12,000-year-old site, predating Stonehenge by 6 millennia and the Great Pyramids by 7, forces us to rewrite history. Here, hunter-gatherers supposedly roaming with simple tools carved and moved 16-ton limestone pillars, arranging them into intricate circular structures. How did nomadic people without agriculture or permanent settlements achieve such a feat? Mainstream archaeology struggles to reconcile Göbekli Tepe with traditional timelines. The pillars, some standing 5 meters tall, were quarried from nearby bedrock, yet transporting them required coordinated labor on an industrial scale. Experiments show that moving a single pillar would need at least 50 people working in unison, dragging it over rough terrain using ropes and log rollers. But this raises more questions than answers. Hunter-gatherer groups at the time were small, rarely exceeding a few dozen individuals. How did they organize hundreds of workers across generations without a centralized authority or surplus food supply? The pillars themselves deepen the mystery. Carved with elaborate reliefs of animals, snakes, foxes, scorpions, and birds, their precise craftsmanship suggests specialized artisans, not casual laborers. Even more baffling is their intentional burial around 8000 BC. The entire complex was carefully backfilled, preserving it like a time capsule. Was this an act of reverence, or were the builders hiding knowledge they deemed dangerous? Alternative theories propose that Gobekli Tepe represents a lost pre-agricultural civilization with advanced knowledge. The site's alignment with celestial events hints at sophisticated astronomy. Pillar 43, dubbed the Vulture Stone, depicts a swarm of creatures alongside what some interpret as a comet striking Earth. Could this be a record of the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a catastrophic event around 11,000 BC that triggered a mini-ice age? If so, the builders might have preserved warnings or wisdom from an even older society wiped out by climate chaos. Skeptics counter that the carvings are symbolic, not literal. Yet the sheer scale of Gobekli Tepe undermines the notion of simple hunter-gatherers. Its construction would have required surplus labor, implying some form of early agriculture or resource stockpiling technologies not supposed to exist yet. Recent discoveries of nearby settlements like Karahan Tepe, with similar pillars and carvings, suggest a networked culture spanning the region. Were these sites part of a forgotten ritual or trade network, its true purpose erased by time? As we ponder these questions, Gobekli Tepe stands as a humbling reminder of how little we know about humanity's dawn. Its pillars, silent but insistent, challenge our assumptions about progress. Perhaps civilization didn't evolve in a straight line from simple to complex. Maybe it rose, fell, and rose again, leaving only fragments for us to decipher. Now our journey takes us beneath the waves off Japan's coast, where the submerged Yonaguni monument stirs debates about nature versus human ingenuity, another enigma waiting in the deep. Shifting from the ancient hills of Turkey, we now dive into the crystal-clear waters off Japan's Yonaguni Island, where a sprawling underwater formation has ignited one of archaeology's fiercest debates. Known as the Yonaguni Monument, this massive structure lies 16 meters beneath the waves, its terraced steps, sharp angles, and what appear to be carved pillars fueling speculation that it might be a sunken city from a forgotten era. But is this a deliberate construction or merely nature's handiwork? Geologists argue that the monument's sandstone formations could be the result of tectonic activity, shaped over millennia by underwater currents and natural fracturing. The region sits in an earthquake-prone zone, and the rock's horizontal layers can split into strikingly geometric patterns. Yet, proponents of the man-made theory point to features that defy easy geological explanation. The so-called turtle platform, with its flat top and right-angled sides, resembles ceremonial altars found in ancient Okinawan ruins. Nearby, two round holes aligned like mooring posts and a straight trench nicknamed the Road suggest human intervention. Even the monument's orientation, aligned with cardinal directions, hints at intentional design. If humans did build Yonaguni, the challenges they faced would have been staggering. The site was last above water around 10,000 years ago, during the end of the last ice age when sea levels were far lower. This places its potential construction in the same enigmatic epoch as Gobekli Tepe, raising the tantalizing possibility of a lost coastal civilization. How could prehistoric people have quarried, transported, and assembled multi-ton stone blocks underwater? Some theorists propose that the monument was built on dry land and later submerged, but even then, the logistics are daunting. Without metal tools or wheels, moving such mass would require ingenious techniques, perhaps lever systems or floating barges, technologies not attributed to this period. Alternative explanations weave in local folklore. The Ryukyu Islands, where Yonaguni sits, have legends of underwater kingdoms like the mythical Nurai Kanai. Could these stories be garbled memories of real structures swallowed by rising seas? Skeptics dismiss this as wishful thinking, but marine archaeologists note that nearby submerged stone tools and pottery shards dating back 2,000 years prove humans once lived on now drowned land. The debate intensifies when comparing Yonaguni to confirmed man-made sites like Cuba's underwater pyramids or India's Gulf of Combat ruins, both controversially dated to similarly remote eras. The mystery deepens with recent scans revealing chambers beneath the monument's base. Are these natural cavities, or could they be rooms, perhaps even burial chambers sealed by millennia of sediment? Until direct excavation is possible, Yonaguni remains a Rorschach test for researchers. For some, it's proof of advanced prehistoric seafarers. For others, a beautiful accident of geology. Either way, it forces us to reconsider how much of humanity's past might lie hidden beneath the waves. Now, our path leads us to the windswept coast of Brittany, where the Karnak alignments thousands of standing stones arranged with eerie precision, whisper secrets of a forgotten purpose. Leaving the enigmatic depths of Yonaguni behind, we now set our sights on the misty plains of Brittany, where an even older puzzle stretches across the landscape. The Karnak alignments, a staggering collection of nearly 3,000 megalithic stones arranged in precise rows over several miles, stand as one of Europe's most enduring prehistoric mysteries. These towering menhirs, some as tall as 4 meters, form parallel lines that vanish into the horizon like ghostly soldiers frozen in time. But who orchestrated this colossal stone army, and what purpose did it serve? Local legend weaves a haunting tale, claiming the stones are the remnants of a Roman legion cursed by a Christian saint to stand as silent sentinels for eternity. While the story captivates, archaeologists trace the alignments to the Neolithic era, dating them back over 6,000 years, far older than Rome's empire. The scale of the endeavor defies imagination. Each stone, weighing multiple tons, was quarried from local granite, transported without wheels or beasts of burden, and erected with astonishing alignment. The longest sequence, Mainek, stretches nearly 1 kilometer with 11 converging rows. How did ancient farmers achieve such precision with rudimentary tools? Scientific scrutiny offers partial answers. Some researchers propose the alignments functioned as a colossal astronomical calendar, with stones marking solstice sunrises or lunar cycles. Others suggest territorial markers or pathways for ceremonial processions. Intriguingly, the stone's magnetic properties have sparked theories about their role in Earth energy grids, though mainstream science remains skeptical. What's undeniable is the labor involved moving these stones would have required coordinated efforts from hundreds, if not thousands, of people, hinting at a highly organized society with shared spiritual or practical goals. The mystery deepens when comparing Karnak to other megalithic sites. Unlike Stonehenge's circular arrangement, Karnak's linear rows lack obvious focal points, yet their uniformity suggests deliberate design. Excavations have revealed pottery shards and human remains nearby, but no definitive evidence explains their function. Even more puzzling is the absence of carvings or inscriptions. Unlike Ireland's Newgrange or Malta's temple complexes, Karnak stones are eerily silent. Modern technology has peeled back some layers of secrecy. Ground-penetrating radar reveals buried stones and hidden pit alignments, hinting at a more complex original layout. Yet, these discoveries only multiply the questions. Were the stones part of a grand cosmic map, a boundary between worlds, or something we've yet to comprehend? Folklore and science may never fully agree, but Karnak's silent sentinels continue to challenge our understanding of Neolithic ingenuity. As we ponder these ancient enigmas, our journey takes us next to the Bolivian highlands, where the precision-cut stones of Puma Punku defy explanation, and perhaps even logic. Now, shifting our gaze to the windswept Bolivian highlands, we encounter a puzzle that seems to defy the very laws of physics. Puma Punku, a name meaning door of the puma in the local Aymara language, is a ruin so perplexing that it has fueled debates among archaeologists, engineers, and even alternative history enthusiasts for decades. Nestled near the more famous Tiwanaku complex, this site is home to some of the most precisely cut stone blocks ever discovered, pieces so intricate they appear machined rather than carved by hand. The most baffling feature here is the H-shaped blocks interlocking like a colossal stone puzzle. These andesite and red sandstone slabs, some weighing over 100 tons, bear cuts so precise that modern engineers struggle to replicate them without advanced tools. The edges are razor-sharp, the surfaces unnervingly smooth, and the drill holes perfectly cylindrical, almost as if crafted with laser technology. Yet, Puma Punku dates back to around 500 to 600 AD, a time when the Tiwanaku culture, believed to be its builders, supposedly had only simple bronze tools and stone hammers. How could they achieve such flawless symmetry and geometric perfection? Mainstream archaeology suggests that the Tiwanaku people used painstaking abrasion techniques, grinding the stone with harder minerals over generations. But this theory stumbles when confronted with the site's complexity. Some blocks feature dovetailed joints and angled notches that would require advanced mathematical planning, not to mention tools far beyond what's been found in the archaeological record. Even more puzzling, many stones show signs of being prefabricated, as if they were mass-produced off-site and then transported to Puma Punku for assembly, an idea that seems impossible for an ancient society. Transportation is another enigma. The nearest andesite quarry lies over 10 kilometers away in the Andes, across rugged terrain at an altitude of nearly 4,000 meters. Moving these megaliths would have required not just manpower but an intricate understanding of logistics, leverage, and possibly even anti-friction techniques. Indigenous oral traditions speak of giants or divine beings who built Puma Punku in a single night, while some researchers speculate about lost technologies or even extraterrestrial influence, though these ideas remain firmly in the realm of speculation. The contrast between Puma Punku's sophistication and the known capabilities of the Tiwanaku culture is stark. While Tiwanaku's other structures, like the Akapana Pyramid, display impressive craftsmanship, none match the near-industrial precision of Puma Punku's stonework. This has led some to propose that the site might be far older than believed, possibly built by a forgotten civilization with knowledge that later cultures could only imitate. What's undeniable is that Puma Punku challenges our timeline of human innovation. Whether it's evidence of lost ancient techniques, an unknown chapter in engineering history, or simply a masterpiece of pre-Columbian ingenuity, the site remains a humbling reminder of how much we still don't understand about the past. As we step back from these otherworldly ruins, our journey takes us deeper underground to Turkey's Derinkuyu, where an entire city was carved beneath the Earth's surface. Leaving the high-altitude mysteries of Puma Punku behind, we now descend into the depths of another engineering marvel, one that stretches not toward the sky but far beneath the Earth. Hidden beneath the rugged landscape of Cappadocia in Turkey lies Derinkuyu, an underground city so vast and complex it could shelter 20,000 people across 18 labyrinthine levels. Carved directly into the region's soft volcanic rock, this subterranean metropolis challenges our understanding of ancient urban planning and survival logistics. The scale of Derinkuyu is staggering. Imagine excavating millions of tons of rock, enough to fill hundreds of Olympic-sized swimming pools, using nothing more than hand tools and sheer human determination. The city's builders, likely the Phrygians or early Christians around the 8th century BC, engineered everything from living quarters and stables to chapels, wineries, and even a rudimentary school. But the real genius lies in the infrastructure. Transporting rock from such depths would have been a monumental task, yet the city's architects devised ingenious solutions. Narrow corridors sloped downward in a spiral pattern, wide enough for single-file movement but designed to bottleneck invaders. These passageways also served as channels to funnel excavated stone upward, likely using a system of ropes, pulleys, and sleds. Remarkably, the debris wasn't just discarded, it was repurposed. Crushed rock reinforced walls, while larger blocks became doors, millstones, or even makeshift barricades. Ventilation posed another critical challenge. Without proper airflow, life underground would have been suffocating. Durinkuyu's engineers solved this with a network of 52 ventilation shafts, some plunging over 80 meters to the surface. These weren't mere holes, they were carefully angled to harness natural wind currents, creating a passive air circulation system that kept the city breathable even during prolonged sieges. The shafts also doubled as wells, tapping into underground water sources to supply the population. Water management was equally sophisticated. A series of cylindrical wells, some reaching depths of 60 meters, ensured a steady supply while preventing contamination. The builders even included a pressurized pipe system to distribute water vertically between levels, a feature rarely seen in ancient constructions. What's most baffling is how this was all coordinated without blueprints or modern surveying tools. Some theorists suggest Durinkyu wasn't built in one era but expanded over centuries, with each generation adding layers of complexity. Others point to nearby volcanic tunnels as natural starting points, which humans later enlarged and refined. Then there's the question of why. Was Durinkyu a refuge from invading armies like the Mongols or Arabs, a secret stronghold for early Christians avoiding persecution? Or could it have been part of a larger, interconnected network, hints of which can be seen in the 8-kilometer tunnel linking Durinkyu to another underground city, Kaymakli? Durinkyu forces us to rethink ancient labor and logistics, moving millions of tons of rock, engineering passive ventilation, and maintaining hidden water sources, all without leaving conspicuous surface traces, speaks to a level of collective cooperation and technical prowess we rarely attribute to antiquity. As we emerge from these shadowed corridors, our next stop takes us across the ocean to Micronesia, where another transportation enigma floats atop turquoise waters, the coral roads of Nan Madol. Now, shifting our gaze to the shimmering waters of the Pacific, we arrive at the ancient wonder of Nan Madol, a city unlike any other, where the very ground beneath its builders' feet had to be conjured from the sea. Off the coast of Pohnpei in Micronesia, this labyrinth of 92 artificial islands sprawls across a coral reef, each one painstakingly constructed with colossal basalt logs. But here's the twist: these stones weren't locally sourced. They were hauled across miles of open ocean, some weighing as much as 50 tons. How did a civilization without metal tools or draft animals achieve such a feat? Nan Madol's architecture is a puzzle wrapped in legend. The city's name literally means spaces between, referring to the intricate web of canals that snake between its islands. These waterways weren't just for transport, they were the lifeblood of the city, dividing it into ritual, royal, and residential sectors. Yet the real astonishment lies in the construction. The islands are built atop coral fill, anchored by cross-stacked basalt columns. Picture thousands of these prismatic stones, each precisely shaped like a log, forming walls up to 8 meters high. The precision is uncanny. Some columns weigh as much as a humpback whale, yet they fit together like a colossal jigsaw. The mystery deepens when we trace these stones to their origin. The basalt came from quarries on the opposite side of Pohnpei, over 25 kilometers away. That's like moving the Statue of Liberty's entire weight across open water without cranes or barges. Local oral traditions speak of magic. The Sordalor dynasty, who ruled here around the 12th century, allegedly commanded the stones to fly through the air, guided by a mythical black turtle. But modern science offers more grounded theories. Some researchers propose that the basalt logs were buoyed by bamboo rafts, lashed together to create floating platforms. Others suggest the builders waited for seasonal tides, using the ocean's natural rhythms to nudge the stones along. Then there's the labor question. Nan Madol's construction would have required thousands of workers, yet Pohnpei's population at the time was likely too small to support such an effort. Could the Sodalors have imported labor, or was the work spread over generations, turning the city into a slow mosaic of collective ambition? Even more perplexing is the lack of tools. No metal implements have been found on the island, leaving experts to wonder if the builders used fire or water to fracture the basalt, then painstakingly pecked the stones into shape with harder rocks. The canals add another layer of intrigue. Too narrow for large boats, they suggest a society that prioritized ritual over pragmatism. Some channels align with celestial events, hinting at an astronomical purpose. Yet these waterways also served as defensive moats, isolating the elite from commoners. Was Nan Madol a sacred capital, a fortress, or both? As we sail away from these coral-bound enigmas, the next chapter of our journey surfaces in the deserts of the Middle East, where an ancient scroll hides clues to a treasure lost in time. Now let's journey from the watery labyrinths of Micronesia to the arid cliffs of the Judean desert, where an ancient secret lies buried not in stone but in copper. Unlike its fragile parchment counterparts among the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Copper Scroll is a rugged outlier etched with cryptic directions to unimaginable wealth. Dating back nearly 2,000 years, this oxidized metal sheet lists 64 hiding spots for treasures totaling thousands of talents of gold and silver. But here's the burning question. How could such vast quantities of precious metal have been moved and concealed without leaving a trace? The Copper Scroll reads like a treasure hunter's fever dream. Its instructions are tantalizingly specific yet maddeningly obscure. One entry directs searchers to the cistern opposite the eastern gateway, buried at 11 cubits. Another mentions a stash beneath the stairs of the Ascension Place, but the locations, many tied to landmarks now lost to time, are as enigmatic as the scroll's purpose. Was this a temple treasury ledger, a Roman plunder map, or something far more clandestine? Transporting this hoard would have been a logistical nightmare. The scroll describes over 60 tons of silver and 26 tons of gold riches that would have required fleets of wagons or ships under heavy guard. Yet history records no such conspicuous movement. Some scholars propose the treasures were smuggled in small batches, hidden in plain sight among trade caravans. Others speculate that the metals were melted down and recast as mundane objects to evade detection. The scroll's mention of vessels and implements fuels theories that the treasure was temple loot from Jerusalem's destruction in 70 CE, disguised as everyday items during transport. Then there's the Templar connection. Centuries after the scroll's creation, medieval knights allegedly excavated beneath Jerusalem's Temple Mount, sparking legends of vanished holy relics and vast wealth. Could the Copper Scroll's treasure have inspired these myths? Intriguingly, some of its listed locations overlap with areas the Templars once controlled. While no direct evidence links them to the scroll, the parallel has fueled speculation that they either found part of the hoard or sought it obsessively. The writing itself deepens the puzzle. Unlike the literary Dead Sea Scrolls, the Copper Scroll's language is stark and bureaucratic, suggesting it was meant for practical use. Yet its survival is miraculous. Copper corrodes easily, and the scroll was nearly destroyed when opened in the 1950s. Had it been any other metal, its message might have vanished entirely. As we roll up this metallic enigma, our next stop takes us into the ancient world's most unexpected technological marvel, a device so advanced it seems to defy time itself. Shifting gears from buried treasure to sunken secrets, we now dive into the depths of the Aegean Sea, where a shipwreck yielded history's most baffling mechanical relic. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of Antikythera stumbled upon a corroded bronze artifact that would rewrite our understanding of ancient technology. Known today as the Antikythera mechanism, this 2,000-year-old device is often called the world's first analog computer, but its purpose is only half the mystery. How did such a sophisticated machine end up aboard a doomed Roman cargo ship? And what might its existence reveal about lost innovations in ancient transportation? At first glance, the mechanism's intricate gears resemble a clockmaker's fever dream. X-rays and CT scans have revealed at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, some with teeth cut to precise, mathematically significant angles. Researchers believe it could predict lunar eclipses, track Olympic cycles, and even chart the movements of planets. Such complexity was unheard of until European clockwork a millennium and a half later. But here's the twist: this marvel wasn't found in a scholar's study or royal workshop. It was recovered from a ship laden with statues, coins, and glassware, suggesting it was being transported as cargo. The wreck's location raises tantalizing questions. The Antikythera ship was en route from the eastern Mediterranean to Rome when it sank around 65 CE, possibly during a storm. Why was this delicate instrument, likely crafted in Rhodes or Corinth, being shipped across treacherous seas? Some theorize it was diplomatic loot, a gift for a Roman patron. Others propose it was stolen war booty, its true value unrecognized by its transporters. The presence of luxury goods hints at wealthy passengers who might have safeguarded the device, but its placement among common cargo suggests it was seen as mere merchandise. Either way, the mechanism's survival is miraculous. Had it not been encased in wood now disintegrated, its gears would have scattered on the seabed forever. What makes this find truly revolutionary are the implications for ancient engineering. The mechanism's differential gear, a component thought invented in the 16th century, could have had transportation applications. Imagine wind-powered navigation tools or even early odometers calculating distances traveled. While no such devices have been found, the Antikythera mechanism proves the Greeks had the technical prowess to build them. Could its gears be fragments of a broader technological tradition, one that might have included mechanical aids for moving massive stones or coordinating sea routes? The shipwreck itself adds another layer. Analysis of its amphorae reveals stops in Pergamon and Ephesus, hubs of ancient innovation. Some researchers speculate the vessel carried other advanced devices since lost to time. After all, bronze doesn't survive seawater like marble or pottery. If this mechanism was mass-produced or part of a larger technological ecosystem, its transportation becomes even more significant. Were there workshops shipping such devices across the Mediterranean? Did their knowledge perish with the Roman Empire's collapse? As we surface from this deep-sea enigma, our path leads to an even more perplexing artifact, one that scattered across Europe without explanation. Now, as we step away from the depths of the sea and into the scattered shadows of Roman Europe, we encounter an artifact so peculiar that even the most seasoned archaeologists scratch their heads in wonder. Unearthed in locations from Britain to Hungary, the Roman dodecahedrons are 12-sided bronze enigmas that defy simple explanation. Each one, roughly the size of a baseball, features pentagon-shaped faces with circular holes of varying sizes and small knobs at each corner. Over 100 of these mysterious objects have been discovered, yet not a single Roman text or inscription mentions their purpose. Were they tools for clandestine transport routes, sacred ritual objects, or something even more unexpected? Theories about these dodecahedrons are as varied as the sites where they've been found. Some researchers suggest they functioned as surveying instruments, helping Roman engineers measure distances for road construction, a critical component of history's most advanced transportation network. The differing hole sizes could have allowed users to calculate angles or land gradients, essential for plotting efficient trade routes. Others propose they were knitting tools for crafting military gloves, given that some experiments show wool can be woven around their knobs. But why make them so ornate, and why bury them in such distant, disconnected locations? Then there's the astronomical angle. The 12 faces might correspond to zodiac signs, with the holes aligning to track celestial movements for navigation. Imagine travelers using these under the night sky to time journeys or predict seasonal changes in weather. Yet, not a single dodecahedron has been found with markings to support this, and their sizes vary too widely for precise calculations. More tantalizing is the ritualistic theory. Many were discovered in buried hoards alongside coins and jewelry, hinting at votive offerings. The Gallo-Romans, who blended Celtic and Roman traditions, might have used them in spiritual practices tied to sacred geometry or protection during travel. What deepens the intrigue is their distribution. While most Roman artifacts cluster near military or urban centers, dodecahedrons appear in remote rural areas, places where secret transport networks or underground trade might have thrived. Could they have been tokens of membership for a guild of couriers or merchants, or even keys to access hidden supply routes? Without written records, we're left with a puzzle that resists solving. Unlike the Antikythera mechanism, whose gears whisper of advanced engineering, these silent bronze forms guard their secrets tightly. As we turn the page, our journey takes us northward, where the Vikings may have harnessed the power of light itself to conquer the waves. But now, let's set sail under the stormy skies of the North Atlantic, where Viking legends speak of a crystal that could pierce the clouds. Picture this, a Norse longship battling waves under an overcast sky, the sun hidden for days. Without stars or landmarks, how did these sailors traverse thousands of miles with pinpoint accuracy? The answer might lie in the mythical sunstone, a navigation tool so ingenious it borders on sorcery. Medieval texts like the Icelandic sagas vaguely mention these crystals, describing how Vikings used them to locate the sun's position even when it was invisible. For centuries, historians dismissed these accounts as folklore until modern science caught up. Researchers now believe sunstones could have been calcite crystals, a mineral common in Scandinavia. When held to the sky, calcite splits light into two beams due to a property called birefringence. By rotating the stone until the beams match in brightness, a navigator can pinpoint the sun's location with eerie precision, even through dense fog or twilight. In 2010, a team of Hungarian scientists put this theory to the test. Using a calcite crystal under overcast conditions, they successfully determined the sun's position within 5 degrees of accuracy, a margin small enough to guide a ship from Norway to Greenland. Even more striking, a 2013 study found a calcite crystal aboard a 16th century British shipwreck, hinting that the technique outlived the Viking Age. But the most compelling evidence comes from archaeology. A 10th century Viking grave in Iceland contained a wooden box with a calcite fragment positioned near navigational tools, as if buried with a master seafarer's most prized instrument. Yet mysteries linger. Why don't Viking artifacts explicitly label these crystals as sunstones? And how did they maintain accuracy during the long polar nights when the sun vanishes for weeks? Some scholars argue the Vikings combined sunstones with other methods, like tracking wave patterns or bird migrations. Others propose they used them alongside primitive compasses, aligning the crystals with magnetic lodestones. What's undeniable is that these stones, real or embellished by time, highlight the Vikings' unparalleled mastery of the sea. While Roman dodecahedrons remain silent, sunstones whisper of a civilization that could navigate by bending light itself. As we chart our course forward, prepare to dive into an even older enigma, one where ancient jars the size of bathtubs dot a landscape like forgotten puzzle pieces. Now let's journey from the misty seas of the Vikings to the sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia, where a small clay jar might hold the spark of an ancient technological revolution. In the basement of the National Museum of Iraq sits a peculiar artifact, a terracotta pot, roughly the size of a grapefruit, dating back to the Parthian era around 2,000 years ago. Inside, a copper cylinder and an iron rod sealed with asphalt eerily resemble a primitive battery. Dubbed the Baghdad Battery, this object has fueled decades of debate. Could ancient civilizations have harnessed electricity? The theory gained traction in the 1930s when German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig suggested these jars might have been used for electroplating, coating objects like jewelry or statues with a thin layer of gold or silver. To test the idea, researchers built replicas filled with an acidic electrolyte like vinegar or lemon juice, and voila! They generated around 1 volt of electricity, enough to gild small items. Ancient artisans could have dipped a metal object into a gold solution, connected it to the battery, and watched as the gold particles bonded to the surface. This would explain the intricate gilding on artifacts from the period, like the famous gold-plated silver vessels found in Mesopotamia, but skeptics raise valid questions. If these were batteries, why have no wires or electroplated objects been found alongside them? Some argue the jars were merely storage containers for sacred scrolls, with the iron and copper acting as corrosion-resistant seals. Others note that the asphalt seal would have prevented easy refilling of electrolytes, making practical use awkward. Yet the most tantalizing counterpoint comes from Egypt, where temple carvings at Dendera depict bulb-like objects with twisting filaments, leading some to speculate about ancient light bulbs powered by similar technology. While mainstream Egyptologists interpret these as symbolic representations of snake deities or lotus blossoms, the imagery undeniably sparks the imagination. What tilts the scales toward the battery theory? A 2006 experiment by researchers from Smith College, who successfully electroplated a silver statuette using a replica jar and grape juice as an electrolyte. Even more compelling, the Parthians were known for their advanced metallurgy, and the region had ample access to natural bitumen for insulation. Could these jars have been part of a larger, lost system of ancient electrical knowledge? The truth remains buried, much like the batteries themselves, silent, enigmatic, and waiting for a spark of revelation. As we piece together these fragments of the past, our next stop takes us even deeper into the shadows of antiquity, where stone walls fit so precisely they defy explanation. Leaving behind the cryptic Baghdad Battery, let's step into the torchlit corridors of Egypt's Dendera Temple, where walls whisper secrets of a possible ancient technological marvel. Carved into the temple's crypts are striking reliefs that have ignited fierce debate among researchers. Depictions of what some insist are giant, bulb-like objects, each cradling a snake-like filament inside an elongated glass chamber. To modern eyes, they look eerily similar to early incandescent lamps, complete with cables and supports resembling electrical insulators. Could these carvings be proof of forgotten electrical knowledge, or are we projecting our modern world onto sacred symbolism? The so-called Dendera lights theory took hold in the 20th century, fueled by engineers who argued the carvings show a working understanding of electricity. The bulbs are connected to boxes interpreted by proponents as batteries or generators, and to figures holding what appear to be cables. Skeptics counter that the filaments are likely stylized serpents, symbols of divine power in Egyptian cosmology, and the cables are lotus stems tied to ritual objects. The bulbs themselves might represent the womb of the goddess Hathor, a nod to fertility myths, yet the precision of the designs keeps the debate alive. Why would artists carve such specific technical details if they held no practical meaning? One bold hypothesis suggests these devices could have powered machinery, perhaps aiding in the transport of massive obelisks or illuminating underground chambers. Egyptologist Arne Egebrecht once tested the idea by electroplating gold onto a statue using a replica Baghdad battery, hinting at a broader technological network. But mainstream scholars point out that no physical remnants of such devices have ever been found. The temple's real illumination likely came from torches and polished metal reflectors, leaving the carving's purpose shrouded in metaphor. Yet intrigue deepens when we examine the temple's architecture. The crypts where these carvings appear are cramped, windowless spaces where torches would have suffocated workers with smoke. Could the lights represent a solution to this problem? Ancient texts speak of high places illuminated by no flame, adding another layer of mystery. The truth may lie somewhere between myth and innovation, a blending of spiritual symbolism and proto-scientific observation, where the line between the divine and the mechanical blurs. As we pull back from the glow of Dendra's enigmatic carvings, our next mystery takes us from the shadows of temples to the open sky, where a tiny wooden artifact suggests ancient eyes might have gazed upward with more than just wonder. Now, soaring from the enigma of Egypt's temple carvings, we encounter an artifact that seems to defy its time, the Saqqara bird. Discovered in 1898 during an excavation of a tomb near Saqqara, this small wooden object dates back to around 200 BC, yet its design strikes an uncanny resemblance to a modern glider. With its sleek fuselage, angled wings, and even what appears to be a rudder, the Saqqara bird has sparked decades of debate. Was it merely a child's toy, a ceremonial object, or could it hint at ancient knowledge of aerodynamics long before the Wright brothers took to the skies? At first glance, the artifact looks like a stylized bird, which would align with the ancient Egyptians' reverence for avian symbolism. Yet when aerodynamics experts examined its proportions, they noticed something startling. The wings aren't just decorative, they're asymmetrically curved, a feature crucial for generating lift in flight. In 2006, aviation engineer Simon Sanderson tested a scale model of the Saqqara bird in a wind tunnel. To his surprise, it demonstrated remarkable glide capabilities with minor adjustments. The curvature of the wings, he argued, wasn't accidental. It suggested an intuitive grasp of principles that wouldn't be formally understood until the 20th century. Skeptics, however, point out that the artifact lacks a tailplane, a critical component for stability in flight. Could it simply be a falcon-themed votive object, as many Egyptologists insist? The tomb where it was found held other bird-shaped artifacts, reinforcing the idea of ritual use. But then there's the peculiar notch beneath its wings. Some theorize it once held a separate tailpiece, now lost to time. Even more intriguing are ancient Egyptian texts describing winged devices used in ceremonies. Could these have been more than metaphors? One provocative theory suggests the Saqqara bird might have been a prototype for larger, functional gliders. Ancient cultures worldwide have myths of flying machines, from India's Vimanas to the Greek legend of Icarus. If the Egyptians did experiment with flight, even on a small scale, it could have revolutionized transport or surveying. Imagine gliders scouting trade routes across the Nile Delta or delivering messages between distant temples. Yet without physical evidence of full-scale models, the idea remains speculative. What's undeniable is the artifact's lingering mystery. Whether ritual object or rudimentary aircraft, the Saqqara bird challenges our assumptions about ancient innovation. As we leave this wooden enigma behind, our next mystery plunges us into the depths of an unreadable manuscript, where cryptic illustrations may hide clues to forgotten trade networks. Now, shifting from the skies of ancient Egypt, we turn our attention to a manuscript that has baffled scholars for centuries, the Voynich manuscript, named after the book dealer Wilfrid Voynich, who acquired it in 1912. This mysterious codex is written in an unknown script, accompanied by bizarre illustrations of plants, astronomical diagrams, and what appear to be intricate maps. Carbon dated to the early 15th century, its contents remain indecipherable, fueling endless speculation. Could its pages hide more than just cryptic text? Some researchers propose that its strange diagrams might chart forgotten trade routes, guiding the transport of rare herbs and materials across medieval Europe. The manuscript is divided into sections, with one of the most intriguing being its botanical illustrations. Over 100 plants are depicted, yet none match known species exactly. This has led to theories that the drawings could represent exotic flora, possibly sourced from distant lands through trade networks lost to history. If so, the manuscript might serve as a coded manual for apothecaries or merchants, detailing how to procure and transport these valuable ingredients. Supporting this idea is the fact that many herbs in medieval times were worth their weight in gold, used for medicine, dyes, and even alchemy. Then there are the so-called map folios pages filled with winding channels, star-like arrangements, and circular diagrams resembling celestial navigation charts. Could these be symbolic representations of travel routes? Some researchers suggest they might outline paths to remote locations where rare materials were gathered. Others speculate they could even encode directions using astronomical alignments, a practice known in ancient navigation. The presence of tiny, repeated symbols along these routes hints at possible waypoints or trade hubs, though no one has yet cracked their meaning. Adding to the intrigue is the manuscript's possible connection to the Habsburg court, where alchemy and secret knowledge flourished. If the book was created under royal patronage, its contents might have been deliberately obscured to protect valuable trade secrets. Alternatively, it could be the work of a lone genius or even an elaborate hoax. Yet the precision of its illustrations and the consistency of its script suggest intentional design, not randomness. One compelling theory ties the manuscript to the Benedictine monasteries, known for their vast herbal gardens and networks of knowledge exchange. Monastic orders often controlled trade in medicinal plants, and their libraries housed encrypted texts to safeguard such information. If the Voynich manuscript is a product of this world, its maps could chart the movement of goods between monasteries, hidden in plain sight. What makes this enigma so captivating is its resistance to solution. Despite advanced computing and linguistic analysis, the script remains unreadable, its purpose a puzzle. Whether it's a pharmacopoeia, a trader's cipher, or something entirely different, the Voynich manuscript stands as a testament to the gaps in our understanding of medieval commerce and communication. Leaving this labyrinth of ink and vellum behind, our next journey takes us to the windswept deserts of China, where eerily preserved mummies raise questions about prehistoric travel across continents. Now let's journey from the cryptic pages of the Voynich manuscript to the windswept deserts of Western China, where an astonishing discovery has rewritten chapters of ancient history. Here, buried in the arid sands of the Tarim Basin, lie the enigmatic Tarim mummies, perfectly preserved bodies with strikingly Caucasian features dating back over 4,000 years. Their existence challenges everything we thought we knew about early transcontinental travel and the origins of the Silk Road. The mummies, with their fair hair, tall stature, and European-style clothing, stand in stark contrast to the region's later inhabitants. Found in what is now Xinjiang, these individuals were buried with intricate textiles, wooden masks, and even remnants of cheese, evidence of a sophisticated culture far removed from the nomadic tribes typically associated with ancient Central Asia. The question is undeniable: how did people of unmistakably Western appearance end up in such a remote part of the world millennia before the Silk Road's official emergence? One leading theory suggests these travelers were part of the Tocharian culture, an Indo-European group whose language was later deciphered in manuscripts from the region. Linguistic clues hint at their possible migration from the steppes of modern-day Ukraine or southern Russia, crossing vast distances to settle in the Tarim Basin. If true, this would mean transcontinental journeys were happening much earlier than historians once believed, with groups traversing Eurasia long before the famed Silk Road connected east and west. But the plot thickens when we examine the mummies' grave goods. Their finely woven twill fabrics resemble those found in ancient Europe, while their bronze tools mirror styles from the Caucasus. Even more intriguing, some mummies were buried with ephedra, a plant used in rituals across Eurasia, suggesting shared spiritual practices spanning continents. Could these artifacts point to a network of exchange predating the Silk Road by centuries? Archaeologists are divided. Some argue the Tarim people were isolated, developing their unique culture independently. Others see their artifacts as proof of sporadic but far-reaching contact, perhaps through intermediary tribes. The debate touches on a larger mystery. Was the Silk Road merely the formalization of routes that had existed for ages, worn by the footsteps of forgotten pioneers? Genetic studies add another layer. DNA analysis reveals the mummies had mixed ancestry with roots in both Europe and Siberia. This complicates the narrative, implying that migration and intermingling were more fluid than we imagined. It also raises tantalizing questions. Were these travelers merchants, herders, or refugees, and what compelled them to venture so far from their homelands? What makes the Tarim mummies so captivating is their silent testimony to a world far more connected than our textbooks suggest. They force us to reconsider the timelines of cultural exchange and the resilience of those who braved unimaginable journeys. As we continue unraveling their secrets, one thing becomes clear. The Silk Road wasn't the beginning, it was merely the climax of a story written by countless unsung explorers. With this mystery still lingering in the dry desert air, our next stop takes us underground to an astonishing city carved entirely beneath the Earth's surface. Leaving the windswept deserts of the Tarim Basin behind, we now descend into the shadowy depths of one of China's most perplexing architectural enigmas, the Longyu Caves. Hidden beneath the quiet countryside of Zhejiang province, this sprawling underground complex defies logic. Imagine 24 massive hand-carved caverns, each extending tens of meters below the surface, with walls so precise they appear machined. The scale is staggering, nearly 900,000 cubic meters of stone meticulously chiseled away, yet not a single tool or speck of debris has ever been found. How could an ancient civilization accomplish such a feat without leaving a trace? Discovered in 1992 by a curious villager draining a local pond, the caves instantly rewrote assumptions about China's ancient engineering capabilities. The largest chamber stretches over 2,000 square meters, with ceilings supported by towering pillars carved directly from the bedrock. What's truly baffling is the uniformity. Every surface, from floors to walls, bears identical parallel chisel marks at a 60-degree angle, suggesting a level of coordination and precision unmatched by any known ancient tools. Even more puzzling, the caves align perfectly with one another despite being dug blindly underground, their architects working without the benefit of modern surveying equipment. Theories abound, but none fully explain the mystery. Some researchers propose the caves served as imperial tombs or hidden military bunkers, yet no artifacts, inscriptions, or human remains have been found to support these claims. Others point to the cave's acoustics. Certain chambers amplify sound eerily, hinting at ritual or ceremonial use, but why invest centuries of labor for such a purpose? Then there's the logistical nightmare. Removing 900,000 cubic meters of stone would require hauling away the equivalent of 6 Great Pyramids worth of material. Where did it all go? Local folklore whispers of supernatural involvement, telling of a vanished race with otherworldly skills. More grounded hypotheses suggest advanced, lost rock softening techniques, perhaps using vinegar or heat to make stone easier to carve. Yet experiments with these methods fail to replicate the cave's razor-sharp edges and flawless symmetry. Even the structural integrity defies explanation. Despite their age, not a single collapse has been recorded, a testament to the builders' understanding of load distribution, a concept modern engineering only codified in the last few centuries. Perhaps the most haunting question is why such a monumental project was abandoned. The caves show no signs of prolonged use, as if their creators vanished mid-task. Were they a failed experiment, a hidden archive destroyed to protect its secrets? The silence of the Longyu Caves is as profound as their craftsmanship, leaving us to wonder if their true purpose will ever be uncovered. As we emerge from these subterranean wonders, our next mystery transports us to the icy shores of Scandinavia, where stone ships sail into the realm of myth and memory. Shifting our gaze from the silent depths of China's caves, we now set sail for the rugged coast of Scandinavia, where the past whispers through an enigmatic fleet of stone. Scattered across Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, these ancient ship-shaped formations, built entirely from carefully arranged boulders, stir the imagination. Some stretch over 50 meters in length, their curved outlines mirroring the sleek longships that once ruled these waters. But why would the Vikings, master shipwrights of the north, painstakingly replicate their vessels in stone? The answer may lie where the realms of the living and the dead collide. The most prominent theory suggests these stone ships served as graves or memorials, acting as symbolic vessels to carry the deceased to the afterlife. Viking sagas speak of fiery boat burials where chieftains were laid to rest in actual ships, set ablaze to sail into the next world. But not everyone could afford such a send-off. Stone ships, often found near burial mounds, may have been a more accessible alternative, a permanent, immobile craft for the departed. At Sweden's Älvstones, a massive ship setting frames a burial site, its prow and stern stones towering like sentinels. The alignment of many stone ships with solstice sunrises further hints at a spiritual purpose, tying them to cycles of death and rebirth. Yet not all interpretations point to the afterlife. Some researchers argue these formations functioned as navigational aids, guiding real ships through treacherous waters. The Baltic's labyrinthine archipelagos demanded precise wayfinding, and stone ships along high ground could have acted as landmarks visible from sea. At Norway's Kærham, a stone ship sits atop a hill overlooking a natural harbor, perfectly positioned to mark safe passage. Others propose they were ritual sites for sea blessings, where communities gathered to honor gods like Njord, ruler of winds and waves, before launching voyages. The mystery deepens when we examine the variations. While most stone ships face east-west, echoing the path of the sun, others defy this pattern. Some contain cremated remains, while others are eerily empty. A few, like Gotland's Unsolved ship, even predate the Viking Age by centuries, suggesting the tradition may have roots in older Nordic cultures. And then there's the puzzling absence. Why are these monuments concentrated in certain regions but entirely missing from Viking hubs like Iceland? One tantalizing clue comes from the sagas themselves. In the Ynglinga saga, Odin decrees that nobles be buried in ships to reach Valhalla, yet also insists that memorial stones be raised for commoners. Could stone ships bridge these customs, or were they multifunctional, part tomb, part beacon, part communal gathering place? Modern archaeology leans toward this hybrid view, noting that many sites show evidence of feasting and trade, hinting at dual roles in both ceremony and daily life. As the northern winds howl over these silent stone fleets, their secrets remain as elusive as the fog-shrouded fjords. Were they anchors for the soul or guides for the sailor? Perhaps they were both, monuments to the Vikings' dual mastery of sea and spirit. Our next voyage takes us even further into the realm of the unexplained, where carved stones in Peru depict scenes that defy history itself. Turning our attention from the stone fleets of Scandinavia, we arrive at an even more perplexing puzzle buried in the deserts of Peru. Hidden among the arid landscapes near the town of Rica, a collection of mysterious stones has sparked debates that challenge our understanding of ancient history. These etched rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, depict scenes that seem impossible: human figures interacting with creatures that look unmistakably like dinosaurs, along with what appears to be advanced surgical procedures and futuristic technology. The Rica stones first gained widespread attention in the 1960s when a local farmer, Basilio Ashuya, claimed to have discovered them in a network of caves. The sheer variety of images carved into these stones is staggering. Some show humans riding what resemble triceratops or battling pterodactyls, while others illustrate complex medical operations, including cesarean sections and organ transplants. More baffling still, a few stones feature detailed star maps and what look like telescopes, raising questions about how an ancient civilization could have possessed such knowledge. Skeptics argue that the stones are modern fabrications, pointing to Ushuaia's later admission that he and others had carved many of them to sell to tourists. The lack of proper archaeological context, most stones were not excavated under scientific conditions, further fuels doubts. Yet, proponents counter that not all stones can be dismissed as hoaxes. Some geologists assert that the oxidation patina covering the engravings suggests they could be centuries old, and the sheer volume over 15,000 stones makes it unlikely every single one is a fake. If even a fraction of these stones are genuine, the implications are staggering. How could an ancient Peruvian culture have known about dinosaurs, extinct for 65 million years? Some theorists propose that the stones preserve ancestral memories of a time when humans coexisted with these creatures, while others suggest extraterrestrial influence or lost high civilizations that possessed advanced paleontological knowledge. Mainstream science, however, remains deeply skeptical, noting that no fossil evidence supports human-dinosaur coexistence. Adding another layer of intrigue, the stones bear stylistic similarities to the Paracas culture, which thrived in the region around 2,000 years ago. The Paracas were known for their elongated skulls and intricate textiles, but nothing in their known artifacts hints at the bizarre imagery of the Ica stones. Could they have recorded knowledge passed down from an even older, forgotten society? Or did later artists, inspired by myth or imagination, create these scenes for ritual purposes? The controversy continues to divide researchers, with no definitive proof to settle the debate. Yet whether the Ica stones are ancient enigmas or elaborate hoaxes, they compel us to question the boundaries of history and the limits of human creativity. Our journey into the unknown now leads us to another mystery, hidden deep in the mountains of Asia, where ancient discs inscribed with strange symbols hint at an even more astonishing possibility. Now, as we leave the enigmatic Ica stones behind, our journey takes us high into the remote mountains of China, where a discovery even more baffling awaits. Nestled near the Tibetan border, the so-called Dropa stones have ignited decades of speculation about ancient visitors from the stars. These peculiar artifacts, said to number in the hundreds, are flat stone discs roughly 9 inches in diameter, each with a spiral groove carved with tiny, cryptic symbols, glyphs so small they resemble modern micro-engraving. The story begins in 1938, when Chinese archaeologist Kai Pu-te reportedly uncovered the discs in a series of caves in the Bayan Mountains. Alongside them, he found skeletal remains of unusually small beings, some with elongated skulls, buried in what appeared to be a ritual arrangement. The locals, members of the Dropa tribe, allegedly told Te that the discs were heirlooms from their ancestors, who they claimed were visitors from the clouds. When researchers later examined the discs, they supposedly found that the glyphs, when translated, told an astonishing tale. A spacecraft crashing in the mountains 12,000 years ago, stranding its alien crew, who then integrated with the local population. Skeptics, however, have dismantled much of this narrative. The original archaeological reports from Kai Pu-te's expedition have never been verified, and no reputable institution has been able to study the discs firsthand. Mainstream scholars dismiss the Dropa stones as likely hoaxes or misidentified Neolithic artifacts, possibly ancient ritual objects or tools. The alleged translations, often cited in fringe literature, lack scholarly rigor, and the story's most dramatic details, like the alien crash, seem to have been embellished over time by sensationalist writers. Yet, intriguing questions remain. In the 1960s, Russian scientist Dr. Vyacheslav Sazev claimed to have analyzed one of the discs, reporting that it contained high levels of cobalt and other metals, with a vibrational frequency that suggested it had once been exposed to intense electrical charges. While these findings were never peer-reviewed, they fueled speculation that the stones could be part of a lost technology. Even more puzzling are the Dropa people themselves, a tribe with distinct physical features averaging just over 4 feet tall, and oral traditions that speak of celestial origins. Could their legends preserve a distorted memory of an ancient, advanced culture? The debate mirrors a broader tension in archaeology. How do we interpret artifacts that defy conventional timelines? If the Dropa stones are genuine, they'd suggest a prehistoric awareness of flight or even extraterrestrial contact, ideas that mainstream science rejects without empirical proof. But if they're hoaxes, why do their motifs echo similar ancient astronaut claims worldwide, from the Dogon tribe's astronomical knowledge to Sanskrit texts describing flying machines? As we weigh these possibilities, another mystery emerges from the jungles of Laos, where thousands of massive stone jars lie scattered across the plain of Xingguang. Who placed them there and what purpose could they have served? The answer may lie in a forgotten network of ancient trade, or something far more unexpected. Now, let's turn our attention from the starry mysteries of the Dropa stones to the enigmatic landscape of Laos, where an entirely different kind of puzzle awaits. Stretching across the rolling plains of Xingguang, thousands of massive stone jars lie scattered like forgotten relics of a bygone era. These aren't just any containers, some weigh several tons, standing as tall as a person, with their origins shrouded in as much mystery as their purpose. The Plain of Jars, as it's known, is one of Southeast Asia's most perplexing archaeological sites. Dating back at least 2,000 years, these jars are carved from sandstone, granite, and other local rock, each one meticulously shaped with tools that remain a subject of debate. What's truly baffling is their sheer number. Over 90 sites have been identified, with some locations holding hundreds of jars clustered together. Who made them and why? One leading theory suggests they were funeral urns. Excavations have uncovered human remains, burial goods, and even ceramic vessels near some jars, hinting at ritual use. Local legends speak of a giant king who created the jars to brew rice wine for a victorious army, while others propose they stored rainwater for travelers along ancient trade routes. But here's the twist: unlike typical burial sites, the jars aren't arranged in any obvious pattern, and their distribution spans miles of rugged terrain. If they were part of a trade network, what goods were so valuable to warrant such effort? Then there's the mystery of their construction. How did Iron Age people, without metal tools advanced enough to quarry and carve efficiently, manage to shape these colossal jars? Some show precise lip markings and decorative carvings, suggesting a level of craftsmanship that rivals later civilizations. Even more puzzling, a few jars appear to have been deliberately broken or moved, as if repurposed, or perhaps vandalized centuries after their creation. Adding to the intrigue, the jars aren't alone. Nearby caves contain carved stone discs, possibly lids, and artifacts like bronze bracelets and glass beads, linking the site to regional trade. Yet no written records or oral traditions clearly explain their function. Could they have been part of a forgotten ritual, or even a system for distilling or fermenting on an industrial scale? As we piece together these fragments, the Plain of Jars challenges our assumptions about ancient logistics. Moving and carving these monoliths would have required not just labor, but sophisticated coordination, echoing the same questions we've asked about Easter Island statues or Baalbek's megaliths. Were they markers of territorial power or something more utilitarian? Until further evidence emerges, their secrets remain sealed in stone. And speaking of stone, our next stop takes us to the windswept highlands of Bolivia, where a sprawling web of ancient lines stretches farther than the eye can see, lines that may hold clues to another lost system of movement and communication. But now, let's journey from the clustered stone jars of Laos to the vast, open altiplano of Bolivia, where an even more expansive mystery unfolds beneath the endless sky. Here, etched into the earth like the work of giants, lies the Nazca Lines, a web of perfectly straight pathways stretching over an astonishing 16,000 kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's nearly half the circumference of the entire planet. These aren't random scratches on the landscape. They form a precise network, crisscrossing the plains around the sacred Sajama volcano, some lines running unbroken for more than 20 kilometers. Who created this sprawling design, and why? Unlike the famous Nazca Lines further west, these paths aren't figurative images meant to be seen from above. They're functional, often just 30 to 50 centimeters wide, yet meticulously cleared of vegetation and stones, their borders marked by low walls. The sheer scale of their construction defies logic. Researchers estimate it would have taken generations of laborers working tirelessly to carve out this labyrinth. But here's the twist: the lines aren't just confined to flat terrain. They climb steep hillsides and plunge into valleys without deviating an inch from their arrow-straight course. How did ancient people achieve such precision without modern surveying tools? One compelling theory suggests the Sajama lines were part of a vast transportation grid, possibly for llama caravans moving goods across the Andes. Llamas were the lifeblood of pre-Columbian trade, carrying everything from salt to precious metals. The line's uniform width matches the spacing of llama train pathways found at other archaeological sites. But if that's the case, why invest such effort in paths that don't lead to obvious settlements or resource hubs? Some sections dead end abruptly at rocky outcrops, while others intersect at puzzling angles. Alternatively, the lines might have served a spiritual purpose. The Aymara people, who have inhabited this region for centuries, still perform rituals along these paths today, suggesting a continuity of sacred geography. Local legends speak of the lines as spirit roads, conduits for communication with mountain gods or ancestral deities. The volcano itself, Sajama, is considered a living entity, a notion echoed in other Andean cultures like the Inca, who built ceremonial highways like the Capac Ñan. Could these lines have been pilgrimage routes connecting shrines or celestial observation points? Then there's the engineering enigma. The builders somehow maintained dead-straight alignment across undulating terrain, using nothing more than wooden stakes and ropes. Experiments by archaeologists show that simple sighting techniques like lining up distant peaks could achieve this, but over 16,000 kilometers. Even more perplexing, the lines avoid natural obstacles with mathematical precision, as if their creators possessed an intimate knowledge of the landscape's contours. Some researchers propose the network was a colossal astronomical calendar, with certain lines aligning to solstice sunrises or star positions, yet no definitive proof confirms this. Adding to the intrigue, the Sajama lines overlap with other ancient infrastructures, like the aforementioned Capac Ñan, hinting at layers of cultural reuse. Were they repurposed by later empires, or did multiple civilizations contribute to their expansion? Unlike Egypt's pyramids or Easter Island statues, these lines leave no grand monuments, just whispers in the earth waiting to be decoded. As we stand on these barren plains, the lines force us to reconsider what we know about ancient mobility. They blur the line between practical transit and sacred movement, between map-making and mythology. Whether they guided caravans, pilgrims, or celestial calculations, their true purpose remains as elusive as the horizon they so defiantly chase. And now, prepare to dive into our final mystery, one that lies not on land, but beneath the icy waves of the Baltic Sea, where sonar images have sparked debates about a structure so bizarre, it's been called everything from a glacial anomaly to a sunken relic of a forgotten world. Now, shifting our gaze from the sun-scorched plains of Bolivia to the icy depths of northern Europe, we arrive at our final enigma, the Baltic Sea anomaly. Nestled 60 meters below the waves, this bizarre structure has ignited fierce debate since its discovery in 2011. Sonar images reveal a circular object roughly 60 meters wide, with strange geometric features resembling ramps, staircases, and even what some claim to be a portal-like entrance. At first glance, it looks like something straight out of a science fiction film, leading many to dub it a sunken UFO. But could there be a more mundane explanation, or does this anomaly hint at a forgotten chapter of human ingenuity? Let's dissect the possibilities. On one side, skeptics argue the anomaly is simply a glacial deposit, shaped by natural forces during the last ice age. The Baltic Sea is no stranger to erratic boulders and underwater rock formations carved by retreating glaciers. Yet this theory struggles to explain the object's near-perfect symmetry and its uncanny resemblance to engineered structures. The main body appears to rest atop a tall, pillar-like base, raising questions about how natural processes could produce such deliberate geometry. Even more puzzling are the sonar readings showing right angles and parallel lines, features rarely, if ever, found in nature. Proponents of the man-made theory face their own challenges. If humans built this, when and how? The Baltic's waters were nearly 200 meters lower around 8,000 years ago, exposing vast tracts of land now submerged. Could this be a remnant of a prehistoric settlement like Doggerland in the North Sea? Some researchers point to the anomaly's resemblance to ancient stone circles or ceremonial platforms, suggesting it might have been a ritual site later claimed by rising seas. But transporting and assembling massive stones on such a scale would require technology or communal effort far beyond what we typically attribute to Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. Then there's the wild card, the anomaly's alleged electromagnetic properties. Divers reported equipment malfunctions near the site, with compasses spinning wildly and sonar devices failing. While these claims are anecdotal, they've fueled speculation about metallic composition or even extraterrestrial origins. Geologists counter that the Baltic seabed is rich in volcanic rock, which can interfere with instruments. Still, the absence of thorough scientific exploration leaves room for intrigue. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't just what the anomaly is, but how it ended up there. If man-made, was it deliberately sunk, a sunken temple or monument? Or could it have been dragged by glacial movement like the massive stones of Stonehenge transported over hundreds of kilometers? The lack of artifacts or debris complicates the puzzle. Without physical samples or detailed scans, the anomaly remains a Rorschach test for imagination. As we close our journey through these 30 mysteries, the Baltic Sea anomaly serves as a fitting final act, a reminder that our planet still guards secrets defying easy explanation. Whether a quirk of geology or a relic of lost history, it challenges us to keep questioning, exploring, and marveling at the untold stories hidden in Earth's shadows. And who knows, the next great discovery might be lurking just beyond the edge of our understanding, waiting to rewrite the past. If these mysteries captivated you, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more deep dives into history's greatest puzzles. Share your theories in the comments. Do you think the Baltic Sea anomaly is a natural formation or evidence of something far more extraordinary? Until next time, keep exploring. The past is never as distant as it seems. As we bring this journey through time to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on the astonishing tapestry of mysteries we've unraveled together. From the uncanny precision of Costa Rica stone spheres to the haunting depths of the Baltic Sea anomaly, each enigma has stretched the boundaries of what we thought possible for ancient civilizations. These puzzles aren't just relics of the past, they're invitations to rethink history itself. How did societies without modern technology achieve feats that still baffle engineers today? Were there lost methods, forgotten tools, or even cultures more advanced than we've dared to imagine? Consider the sheer scale of these wonders. The Olmecs moving 40-ton heads through swamps, the builders of Puma Punku crafting blocks with laser-like precision, or the anonymous minds behind the Antikythera mechanism. Each accomplishment defies the timelines we've constructed. And let's not forget the human element. Were these projects driven by kings, gods, or entire communities working in harmony? The absence of written records only deepens the intrigue, leaving us to piece together clues from stones, myths, and the occasional cryptic artifact. What ties these mysteries together isn't just their grandeur, but the questions they force us to confront. Were ancient people privy to knowledge that vanished with them? Could some technologies have been rediscovered and lost multiple times over millennia? Even the simplest explanations like sleds for the Great Pyramid stones or rafts for the Moai often raise new riddles when scrutinized. It's a humbling reminder that history is far from a settled script. Now we turn the spotlight to you. Which of these 30 mysteries resonated most? Do you lean toward the practical, like the Viking sunstones guiding ships through fog, or the tantalizingly bizarre, like the Dropa stones' alleged extraterrestrial origins? The comment section is your stage. Share your theories, debate the possibilities, and let's keep the conversation alive. After all, every great discovery begins with someone asking, "What if?" If you've enjoyed this expedition into the unknown, don't let the adventure end here. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join us for more deep dives into history's shadowy corners. From lost cities to cryptic artifacts, our next investigation might just rewrite the story you thought you knew. Until then, keep looking closer, questioning deeper, and remembering, the past is always richer, stranger, and more wondrous than we imagine.